All right, guys. Well, welcome to Tea with the Top for December. First of all, congratulations for earning a spot to be here on this call. Whoop, whoop. I love that I can see you guys moving, but it does feel super alone when I can't hear your voices. Can we just unmute for a second to celebrate, just for a second? All right. And welcome to our super, super special guest, Color Street celebrity. Orly is here with you today to answer all of your questions. And Orly, real quick, before we get started, can you tell us what your official title is with Color Street?
I sure can. It's a fancy one. So it's SVP of Marketing and Creative.
SVP, so Senior Vice President of Marketing and Creative.
Yes.
That is a fancy title and so long. So you guys, I wanted to just lay that out there first so that if you haven't had the opportunity to be exposed to Orly yet, you know what an honor it is to spend some time with her here today, and what a gift it is that she is spending part of her lunch break with you today to answer your burning questions. I know many of you were bursting at the seams to hear from Orly because we seem to be most intrigued by her job and its place in Color Street and how fun it is. So Orly, welcome. All of these women here have sold $700 in the previous month. That's what 700 Society is. And most of these women hit this goal every single month. And definitely this is one of the greatest privileges that I think many look forward to, is truly the tea with the top. So welcome. And what is it that you can just tell us about yourself? Because we would love to know just about you, who you are and all the things.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm honored to be part of this. So thank you for inviting me. I feel like the one piece that I haven't had more time to do, and it's a want, is be more connected with the field. So I'm really honored that you asked me to be part of this. I'm really honored to be part of this company of you guys that are driving so much of the business, and it's really a pleasure to be here with you. So I am an open book, so I will just go right into it of who I am. I am a person who is trying to make it in the world like the rest of us, right? Figure out our place in the world. I am a hard worker. So on the professional side, I have over 20 years of experience. I come from the likes of brands like Clinique, where I was most recently heading up makeup globally for the brand, as well as fragrance and promotional marketing. Prior to that, I was at a company called Luxottica, which is an eyewear company. They work on brands like Chanel, Prada, but also like Michael Kors, Coach. So it really ran the gamut from ultra luxury to lifestyle. And then they own Ray-Ban. I got to work on Ray-Ban, which is really cool. I worked on Oakley as the most recent body of work there as a brand director. And then prior to that, I was actually at Clinique. And then I started my career actually in book publishing. I graduated with a journalism degree. I didn't think I was going to end up in marketing or anything to do with business. I was a writer, creative, someone who loved communication. So I went to University of Florida. I'm a Gator. I bleed orange and blue for anyone out there. And in my 20 years, I've lived the New York City lifestyle of like what it is to build a professional career. And really it was like grinding and doing the commute and going into the office and staying until, the horror stories of the 9 p.m.s at night. And my whole life, I've been a workaholic. And I love it. I truly love it. And I was coached along my life and my journey to go into marketing because I had such strong strength in communication. And I would say when I switched from book publishing to Clinique, my first go around at Clinique, it's when I had my hands head whiplash thing going on, where I learned a lot about business because in cosmetics, marketing is very much a business function. It's not just about go to market and like how assets and communication goes to market. Like it wasn't book publishing. At Clinique, it was about being a business driver and figuring out the category, what we need to do to grow the business, understanding opportunities with consumers, coming up with the programs. It was really a big learning for me at a very young age. And that's kind of who I am on the professional side. On the personal side, I come from an immigrant family. My parents are Israeli. Yes, I know some questions were around my name. So they came here in 1975 from Israel with like literally, the immigrant story, $200. They had my brother. My mom was pregnant for 6 months pregnant with my other brother. I was born here, so I'm first generation American. And they instilled it in me. I'm working since, don't tell the child labor police, but since I was a child, they owned businesses. I helped them always around the house. I had work ethic nailed into me. And the people I look up to in terms of a professional side, I look up to my mom. She was a force to be reckoned with. She owned her own business. They owned a dry cleaners, and I would see her put her heart and soul, and I worked with her constantly. I managed a business with her at 16 years old and love them. And I'm so indebted to them. And then they came to this country to give me and my brothers a better life. And the three of us went to college, and we all have really good careers, and we're now just paying it forward. And I have a husband and a baby. So I don't know how much you guys know about this. Some of you guys do. I love being a mom. Hardest job I've ever had. So speaking of all the crazy professional shit I've just gone through in my life, being a mom, kudos to anyone who has a kid to start, and then who has any children beyond just one. I don't know how that's possible. It's been a wake-up call, and I'm so just in awe of all my friends who are parents and making it happen day in, day out. And it's given me a new perspective in life because I'm an older mom. I'm 42 years old. I'm totally okay to share that. I'm proud of that because I think we're too often shamed, but I think 42 is young. I'm still strong. I'm still going for it and active, and it's not old. And but I am an older mom. I had a COVID baby, and I found love late in life. Love my husband now. It was worth the wait. Had a baby with the person I love the most in the world, and it's awesome. So just trying to figure out all of it, right? Where do you fit in time for you? Where do you fit in time to have that, not buying things on Amazon, running here, going there, picking up, the whole thing. So, but just like everyone else here, I hear a lot of the stories from you guys in the field, and I'm not much different, to be quite honest. So that's my story.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I feel like we just became friends. Everybody here, I think that the perseverance that you've seen and that you show, we all understand that, and the sacrifices and all of the things and the balance. And those are all things that we all deal with. And I love the story, and it brought in so many more questions. But if I start asking questions, we're going to be off of Color Street, because I want to know more about the Michael Kors and Coach and Ray-Ban and, the whole journey, all of that is super exciting. So you kind of answered a little bit about where you learned about marketing, because that was going to be one of my questions.
I can still explain that, just because I think it's interesting, and it's marketing there are different facets. And I think everyone here understands that because you guys are all marketers doing it out there. But there's marketing in terms of go to market. There's marketing in terms of different portions, communications. There's marketing when it comes to product marketing. And, where I really honed in, I think, on understanding the differences was coming from book publishing, where marketing, my job was literally to take a book that was coming out, and I had to think of ways within a $5,000 budget, as an example, of different ways to get that book out to an audience and let people know about it. And so I had to work on, mailings and trade events and getting a book club together and giving out giveaways or goodies, and coming up with a mini campaign for every single book release. And that was in book publishing, which was interesting. It was really a functional support of the business, right? I was just shared support of driving the business. When I went to Clinique, I had one of those moments where I realized, oh, I have to do cost of goods. What the hell is that? I had to do forecasting. How do I do that? And so it was really more about product and business. So that was a different element of marketing that I really had to hone in on, because that wasn't my job at, on the book publishing side. All the way through to Luxottica, where it was about trade marketing. I was a trade marketing director. So trade marketing, I I honestly didn't know what I was getting myself into. We hardly ever do when we make these decisions. We know what we know, we don't know what we don't know. And at Luxottica, my job was overseeing a portfolio of about 30 different brands, from Michael Kors and Coach to Chanel, and working across the channels of trade. So we were selling eyewear to doctors' offices, to national chains like National Vision, or if you guys have heard of America's Best kind of, eyewear places, all the way through to department stores like Dillard's and Neiman Marcus. And so my job was overseeing a team of marketers where we would take the branded content and try to think about how do we illustrate that content and the stories at point of sale and market that to the consumer. So as an example, if Ray-Ban was coming out with a new collection, we would listen to the story. What is the collection about? And then we would think of ways and different mechanisms to get that story out through different printed materials, window displays, trainings, spiffs with their, sales teams, different ways to help generate excitement for those collections. And that was new for me. That was truly operational marketing. And I didn't know how to, I walked into that job overseeing a $25 million budget, multiple brands, different brand guidelines, different things. It was such a wake up call for me, but that experience reminds me a lot of Color Street, just because it was all about driving. There's so many collections across 30 brands. I was like, how do I, manage it all? But I learned a lot in that role. And then within that time, I took on brand marketing, which is something also a different facet. And that's what I did at Oakley. And then from brand marketing, that was owning stories, figuring out the consumer. What are we actually positioning ourselves against? What is the competitive set? Coming up with brand collection stories as well, which was really interesting. And then swinging that through to back to Clinique, where I was able, at a very senior level, able to bring it all together and drive all different facets of marketing. So I hope that answers that question.
It does. And it
Okay.
prompted another one, but I'll have to ask that one in a little bit. But when you, so coming away from it with this incredible resume, what excited you to take this job at Color Street? What made you say yes?
Oh man, that's such a good one. Mr. Park, I would say, was a big one. I really respect so much of what he did to create an innovative product. And I would say number two is the product and the innovation. Part of what I always look for as a marketer is innovation. Like, I want my name to always be synonymous with innovation, because I think that's where the cool things happen. And that's where we find interesting things. And that's where you can be different. And it's the exciting things of seeing how you can solve for consumer pain points. And our product truly does that. So the product hooked me in. I wasn't sure necessarily about the direct sales piece, to be quite honest, because I didn't know enough. So I was like, what's the deal with this? But then as I started, going through it a little bit more, it was the product, it was Mr. Park. And then once I started seeing how active the stylist community was and how awesome you guys are, I was like, well, I could totally see myself being part of that. So it was really those three things that attracted me initially. And then once I really came in and interviewed and saw what we had here, as someone in my experience from a marketing perspective, it was kind of like a dream to be able to come in, scale things, operationalize things better. So using my prowess from the operational go-to-market side, but also from a visionary brand innovation side, and bringing it together. And I was looking for a role that was kind of like a startup, but more established. So it all kind of just aligned together that I was looking for this opportunity, and then it just appeared, to be quite honest.
I love that you just called us a startup, but more established, because every one of us like on here is excited about that, because that's like the way we feel about it too. Like, we're on the cusp of so many great things. It's just a really exciting place to be. You mentioned always wanting your name being tagged to innovation. And that is the question that we keep seeing pop up, worded a couple of different ways, but basically, and also in line with consumer pain points. Our product with nail polish, for over 4 years, we were able to lead with one product of our nail polish. And I think a lot of stylists overall were scared to even tackle another product because they're wondering, how are we going to remain innovative? How are we going to, meet the consumer pain points of, we currently are saving the consumer time and money. And so that's been like probably an overarching fear, because I saw this question come up a lot. So when you are wanting to tag your name always to innovation, is it safe then to assume that the products of Color Street's future will also remain innovative and keep the same solutions for the consumer?
Absolutely. That was one of the things that when I came in with Mr. Park, I was like, we have to figure out how not to do Me Too products, because you've built a one-of-a-kind product in a strip, and like, it's truly breakthrough, right? Like, oh my God. And when I came in, a lot of the lip collection had been developed and created. So I walked in, and Eunice is an incredible partner, and super smart and savvy. And as she was developing, one of the first conversations I had, even before I started with her, was, okay, what's new, better, different, right? Like, always, what's new, better, different. If it's not new, better, different, we shouldn't be doing it. And that's something that I always tell my team, I always look at. And I would say, yes, we are constantly looking for innovation. I think we have to do a better job of arming you guys with the tools you need to stand that up. And we're working through that. In 23, you're going to see a lot more come through: demos, how-to videos, comparisons, clinical result testing, things like that we're working on. So really, and testimonials, like things that a normal beauty company would be doing, to be quite honest. And because we do have amazing stories within our products. I mean, when I came in and I was like, with the bomb, that there are 12 vitamins embedded in this guy, and it had a pH sensitive pigment in it, I was like, oh my God, it's really amazing. And what we do a lot of work internally, we do a lot of competitive benchmarking. So we always start with, okay, what's happening out there in the world of, and we do it for all different areas. So we have a prestige list, we have a running list of what's happening in the mass. So just to help you guys understand that, prestige are brands like anything from Dior to MAC to NARS to anything sold at basically Sephora department stores. We have a running mass list. So that's anything you can buy at a drugstore like a CVS or Walgreens or Walmart. And Ulta actually is a really interesting retailer that sells prestige and mass. But that's like brands like L'Oreal, Maybelline, NYX is a big one that we track. And then we have a tracker also for direct sales too, because we want to keep our eyes on our competitors within our space, right? So we have one, we are always looking at Arbonne, Avon, Unique. Avon's so, we're not a benchmark, but we want to know what they're doing. But and we keep our eyes on all the different brands happening. I mean, Gwen Stefani's brand, I'm like a laser hawk watching at that brand. I know it's not necessarily direct sales like what we have, but I'm watching her, let me tell you. And so when we look at all of the competitive set and what everyone's doing, we're always trying to pull apart what is different and unique about what we're trying to solve for. And we write a product concept based on that. And that product concept should encapsulate new, better, different from all this stuff that's out there. So it's always about innovation. I think you'll see some of that for sure in some upcoming launches in the new year, especially in makeup. And then I think in hand and nail care, we're looking to innovate as well. Looking to bring very interesting things that don't exist yet in the marketplace. So part of what Eunice and I are doing is working with partners to really find things that aren't even in market yet. So we would be first to market in a lot of these categories, spaces, and concepts. So.
Oh, I wish that we could have unmuted for a minute, because I know if you could hear those on Facebook and those here live, like when you were talking about new, better, different, first for the very first time, there would have been a roar. And especially if what we're feeling inside was making that outward noise, right? And then also, what was the other thing that you were talking about? Oh, the marketing materials and the tools that we need to market with the comparisons and the testimonials. And I know that you would have heard roars there too, because that's another thing that we hear a lot. And somebody submitted a question connected to this that, you know, we have Color Street stylists who have only ever used blush and chapstick, you know, like there's not a lot, you know, I think Tony just raised her hand there in the screen. And some of us just love makeup and dive into every brand that ever comes out because we can't wait to get our hands on it and try it. And I think Rocky here with the beautiful lips on the screen, you might be able to see her too. She didn't use a lot of makeup before, but like, holy crap, her smile glows from a mile away because of this lip color. And we've collected testimonies and things like that too, but hearing that the company is going to provide that stuff really excites us. But back to the stylist who might only use blush and lipstick. You know, there's questions around how to explain what makes our products innovative or different. What makes us new, better, different, as you said, what makes us stand out from the others? Is there any clarity or education? I know you said a lot of the lip line was provided, was already created when you came there, but are there things that you still get excited about that make the current product offerings new, better, different? I know the pH sensitive pigment is something I've been excited about. I once used a pH sensitive blush and it was my favorite thing ever. And then it like disappeared. And I've never been able to get that again, like 10 years ago, like it's an old thing. But in the lip market, that's exciting. And everybody who's put it on always comments on the subtle color that gives them, that makes them look so natural and awesome. But I'd love to hear with the products that we already have, what excites you about them?
Yeah, I love that there's something special in all of them. I love that we have a vitamin E. I would say actually the first thing that really excites me coming in from a legacy brand like Clinique, to be quite honest, where it was my dream to do clean beauty. And I couldn't because of the legacy way of the way that they're working. We were getting there, but it just was a huge machine to turn around. My number one thing, because that's where consumers are, is that we have a clean line. Like for me, that is the technology has finally caught up in the space of beauty and makeup. Whereas at one point, you know, I remember testing products that was natural, clean, vegan, and cruelty, you know, the whole thing. And it wasn't great. It was never really great. This is about 10, 15 years ago. And it was like, like we all wanted to do it, but there wasn't enough investment as a whole in terms of the macro cosmetic community, I'll say. And then I think there was this massive shift in the past 10 years. And, you know, I think the technology has caught up. I think there are synthetic things that can be created that aren't harmful anymore. And there was this massive swing that happened about 5 years ago from a regulatory point of view, which is great. And it's like demanding more from cosmetic companies to be clean and be vegan and make sure you have these away from these no ingredients. And for me coming in, actually, that was one of the biggest things, because I know it seems like everyone now has options, but let me tell you, to create beautiful, really performance driven type of makeup that is also clean is not so easy to do. And to say that we have, you know, lipstick that stays on. And when we got the wear test, I couldn't believe it's a 12-hour wear claim. I know some people have doubts on that, but we actually have a clinical test that says that. And that actually is something we can market and talk to. To have that is just insane. Even if it's an all-day wear, when you see all-day wear, that means 8 hours usually. Even an 8-hour wear with clean is amazing. And the fact that we have performance makeup that's clean, for me, is one of the strongest things. I also love the fact that we're speaking to the consumer and someone who isn't a makeup wearer like you, Tony, and, you know, Hannah, you're a fan of makeup, and we are offering, I think, you know, something for everyone, whether it's the shades within the lip line, you know, lipsticks. We have shades that are neutral, like VIP, which is one of our best selling shades, to, you know, whoever wants to be wearing baddie and like wear that prominent big lip look. So I think we do have something for everyone, which is so cool. And I think that's going to remain true to our go forward strategy. We will always have those two consumer types in our head: those who love makeup, who can't wait for the next launch of the next mascara, of the next lip, of the blah, 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 to someone who's like, you know what? I just want a little bit of something and go on with my day. I don't want to have to do the 10 steps to a look thing. So, and I get that. And I think COVID has actually transformed our behavior in a way that we're more choiceful on where we want to spend our time. Obviously that has come out. But we're on Zoom a lot. We got used to the Zoom culture. We also got used to not going out as much and not needing to doll up as much. So it's a weird thing. Like the makeup category saw a seismic shift during COVID. And I think I'm just excited about those unique points for our product. And moving forward, you'll see more of that.
I love that. Thank you. I think one of the shifts I also saw during COVID, and I don't know if there's any marketing statistics here that are connected to it, is that people have gone to social media to learn makeup tips. Like,
Yeah.
so like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and that's where we're at. And that's what's super exciting to me is they're not going into Sephora to get a lesson. They're not walking into the Clinique counter to get a lesson. They're
No.
turning to social media. Are you seeing that same trend?
100%. Actually, while we were at Clinique, I was there right before I had my baby because it shut down. I was there for a month and then the world changed. And I was on maternity leave, but watching it from afar. But we had to get our skates on and all of a sudden do demos online and live selling online and connect with consumers and do tutorials online that were different. And it was a race, really, because consumers were beating us to it. And that's the name of the game today. I think brands that were smart and were able to pivot quickly to the needs of the consumer, knowing that, you're not going to a Macy's counter anymore, really. Like that's so old school. Our moms did that, right? So it's like, it's like, okay, so what is the point of the Macy's? That was a problem to solve. Like, what are we actually doing that's helpful in a service there? Because it's a channel that's important, and a retailer that had a long legacy with the brand. But then it's also, okay, there's a new areas of growth. You have influencers now selling. How are we making sure that we're being balanced, giving everyone their right to play, but also making sure we're there with assets and tools to make sure you're demoing. And I think Color Street truly was, we're very fortuitous and we're just very lucky that, people weren't going to the salons. They were looking for solutions for their nail and people were home, right? And so I think in makeup, we saw that. And I think it's now become the norm, Hannah. Like truly, like if you're not in it to win it in terms of demos, videos, tools, tutorials, little snacks of different content, you're dead in the water. And that's something that I'm really proud. The team has put together a 23 plan and strategy, truly a marketing strategy. And what kind of TikTok videos do we need? What kind of snippets do we need for you guys? How do we arm you with the right trainings and tools and materials also, so that you can also become your content creation masters in all of this as well. So we are working on some tools to help with the education of all of that.
You knew where this was going. Like, that's exciting because I know that there's going to be people watching who are afraid that, if they have to do a demo, that they might not be able to sell the product online. But it sounds like you have a plan for that. Are you really confident in 2023? I mean, I don't want to spoil anything that might be coming out on a 2023 call or something, but are you really confident that the tools coming are tools that any person of any skill level and any knowledge level with makeup could confidently step in and sell and represent our products that are coming?
100%. So we are thinking of ways, and it's natural to all of a sudden be like at the forefront of being a sales and needing to drive sales for something you're not comfortable with and you don't know, and we don't deliver enough, I think, to help with that right now, just because we are trying to catch up with so much. But in looking at when you create education for product, you usually do it in different tiers, and you usually do it at the expert level, who are experts, who feel comfortable, who can sell it, someone who's sort of comfortable, and then you do kind of tier one, someone who's never done it before. And if it's someone who's never done it before, what are those easy to use bits and pieces, like either things that we provide, our tools and things where like you could have a webinar or like a tutorial or something, and you can actually just play like a little bit of content and kind of show it and demo it that way. Or if you're at that medium level, it's like, okay, I can do this myself. Like, let me do it and practice it and try it and then showcase it. Or it's the expert where it's like, I've got like 20 reels that I've already created myself, so it really is, it depends on where your comfort level is, but it's our job to make sure you're feeling comfortable, whatever level you're at, that you're empowered to sell the product. So that's part of a creation of product marketing, a new product marketing team that I've created here that's going to partner closely with the training development team to create those kinds of assets and tools and materials. So more to come. Yeah.
Because I feel like our stylist avatar is just such a broad category, and knowing that, that women of all shapes, colors, sizes, experience everything, and men are all right here in this market. That's so important to us. And in line, kind of in line with that, one of the things that I know we've talked about in leadership forums, and even right before you hopped on this call, we were talking about how we would love to see more diversity in our company. Like when you walk into a conference, like we don't want to see a bunch of middle-aged white women, or just middle-class white women in general. It's not all middle-aged, but middle-class white women, right? Like it would just be great to see for every skin tone, every nationality, every person of any type to be able to walk in and see somebody who looks like them, or who that they can resonate with or feel comfortable around. As far as that's concerned, do we have plans? I know with our product and our product offerings with nail polish and with our lip colors, we do have shades for everyone. What can we do, like from the marketing standpoint, or what's in the future with branding and marketing that might help to reach a broader audience?
I think it's a great one. So I love that you brought this up. This is something that it's not a box for me to check off. I think, I come from places where I've dealt with people where they're like, oh, where's the diversity box? Let's make sure we have the models. Let's make sure we have the things, blah, blah, blah. This is truly something that I take to heart, because we do want to represent and be there for everyone. And I think in order to attract stylists, I mean, it's really attracting the consumer too, and letting them, we have the product that will resonate with them, and B, that we will continuously service them and help them with what they need within their communities as well. And I think it's something that we're doing from a product perspective. I'll start there to make sure we always have shades and we're inclusive. So as an example, for the lip line, lip collection, we need to make sure we had the right range and we could talk to every kind of skin tone that was out there. Same thing for future lines within makeup. You can imagine cheek, eyes, things like that. What we do from a consumer pain point perspective is that we're looking not only at what a white average consumer would say, but also what a Latinx or a Hispanic consumer would say, what a Black woman would say or need. And it's different needs, to be honest. As an example, when you develop a mascara, there are different lash types depending on, your background, and your needs are different. Like some people need a curling mascara, some need lengthening, some need, so it really is honing in on the common need that would work across all from a product perspective. Another example, the Hispanic market is something we've talked about a lot about. I think Lisa and Angie have talked a lot about it as well. It's a huge opportunity for us. Do we have the right nails? Do we have the right nail lengths? In that demographic, nails sometimes are longer. Do we have the right product to even speak to them? And that's something that we're doing deep dives on in terms of research from a product perspective. I would say from a communication perspective, my gosh, it's like, it was so obvious when I walked in the door, the need to have different models, different hand types, older hand types, younger hand types, different colors, and also just different representation, especially as we went into the world of makeup. It's not even a question for me when I work with the team. We have multiple models on every shot and every campaign. I think you saw that with the lip collection, with the glitter lips. We made sure we had diversity in there. We're going to see a lot more of that coming through in the next year. Can I make an announcement, Hannah? It might be like a little ahead of the curve.
We're okay with it as long as you're not getting in trouble.
No, it shouldn't. It's an announcement just internally. We hired a new creative director internally. He starts on January 2nd. I'm so excited to have him on board because he comes from brands like Bare Minerals. He worked at It Cosmetics. He's worked at some startups. He worked at Becca Beauty. And he actually is going to change the way assets even look, feel, and show up. I think you've started to see some transition, I hope, when I got here, but then you're going to see a lot more coming out when he's here, and a partner of mine. And his agenda is diversity, and not just diversity in skin tone, in age, and how we also show up. So I think that'll be it'll be really exciting for us as a company.
Awesome. I see Erin Malcolm in the comments said she just got chills. So whoop,
Oh, good. Yay.
whoop.
Me too.
Um,
Every day I get chills. There's so much happening, but a lot of exciting things, really.
And in line with diversity, you know, our nail product is something that we've been marketing the daylights out of for 5 years before the rest of our product line came out. So we got a pretty good grip on what people are asking for and needing. And the thing that we get over and over is petites all the time. You know, people want petites. The thing that's difficult to understand for petites is they want the designs to be scaled down so that, you know, petite nails aren't always as long as other nails. And that's been, I think, the only thing that has kept us from petites moving into an equal selling category of regular sizes is the limited product offerings, but then also like some of the scale sizes too.
Sure.
And then the other question that we get a lot of is for wider nail strips.
Yeah.
Do you hear that at home office? Is that something that comes in?
Yeah.
And in line with seeking diversity, that seems to be one of, I mean, I live in a community with with very diverse demographic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that want to use our polish, but, you know, might have to apply it sideways or whatever. And I saw one of the questions that was submitted by somebody in the Super 7 that said, you know, is there talk about other strips or designs that would look nice turned sideways? And I knew exactly what that was going to as far as width, because we do have men that want to wear our product. Also, Native American women, Black women, a lot of times that demographic overall is seeking wider nail polishes. And then the other question in line with diversity as well is, have we ever thought of coming up with something for Kwanzaa or anything that might honor and represent the Black community? And I love those diversity questions. So, you know, I'm going to kind of ask them all.
It's awesome. I will start backwards, back up. Yes, we are absolutely going to be doing something for the Black community. I would say we're going to see something for Black History Month. So look forward to something exciting there. And it's not just for a commercial perspective. I want to be super clear if we do these things. And I read the feedback on Hispanic heritage. If we're doing something, it has to be meaningful and actually give back to the community that we're representing and talking about. So, you know, I took a lot of the feedback to heart on Hispanic heritage, and I was like, no, the feedback is right. Like, we should be doing things that are more meaningful and more true. And so for Black History Month, my challenge to the team is, let's not just commercialize on it and come up with a design and sell it and just say, here's our Black History Month design. What are we actually doing to give back? So there is a foundational element going to be related to it moving forward. We're actually creating a deeper program. I don't want to share the details, but it's really exciting. And we're actually working to give back to that community and also give them a runway and a space to be part of Color Street for a longer term, which I think will be exciting. Kwanzaa is something we can take back for next year. We missed the boat a little bit this year. So I like that there's that question. And then wider strips, I think that is part of the exercise we're going through. I heard you mention men, but I also know that is for African-American women and also women of Native American descent. It's something that we're actually in the middle of evaluating and measuring and taking, you know, some information and doing consumer research to make sure we're doing the right sizes and right by all of those types of people. Mr. Park is actually a huge advocate of this so that you guys understand that, which is really cool. He brought up men to me, which I was like, oh, I'm game on, here we go. So we just need to do it right and make sure we're sizing things appropriately. And do we need to give, you know, different types of even lengths and widths, like, so that's something that we're just trying to figure out. And then in terms of petites, I think, yes, you're going to be seeing a lot of petites this year, just full stop. You're going to see a lot of it. Okay. And the reason why, just so that you guys understand the why has it been something we've been dancing around as an organization? We are not allowed to market to kids under 12, right? Our product has to be for 12 and over. So it's a very slippery slope when the regulatory bodies watch us. And if we have too much of product and we're marketing to kids, it's a big no-no, and we actually get fined and get in big trouble. So, you know, part of the thinking is we need to experiment and have proof of concept that this is a business that we do want to eventually proliferate and go into more. So we are going to be layering in more petites. That's the first step. And we'll see that come through more. What we're working on is through the national holidays, the big holiday moments. So like a Valentine's Day, moving forward, potentially Mother's Day. I don't want to guarantee it. We're still working through, but like those St. Patrick's Day, we would do a petite, for instance. Other collections where there's a lot of momentum and you have a groundswell. We're also working on a core collection, and in that core collection, you would have some petites as well. So I've heard the feedback and the need for even solid colors, shimmers, not just cutesy designs that are young looking. Even teenagers today want cool designs. They don't want like little, snowflakes and stuff. They want something a little bit more sophisticated. So I think part of the experimentation in December with our recent drop of petites was to get some learnings and insights. And now that we have that, we're running full stop and populating more of that in the calendar for 23. So it's definitely coming. And my dream of dreams would be eventually to innovate in polish to then have a kids line in the future. So like where we could actually market to under 12. That requires a lot of work to our formula. And we would have to have an offshoot line, and because we wouldn't want to take a new formula with what's already been created with Color Street. It would be a different line in the future, potentially, that would be a clean line of nail, and then also we can market it to kids. So that's in store for really way in the future. But like, I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying all that, but I think it's important that you guys know that we are innovating and we are keeping our eye on the prize, and everything you do say does come to the home office in different ways. The ideas mailbox through Lisa and Angie. I read the posts on Facebook news all the time. We're all constantly gathering it. I just think we have to share out a little bit more. So I'm sharing out, and hopefully
we're actually really grateful for it, because I feel like, you guys cannot if you agree, but knowing this information helps us want to put one foot in front of the other. Like when we can see the vision and know where you want to go, and know that your vision is in alignment with everything that we want to see happen with the company, it really helps us to put one foot in front of the other and get excited about growing the Color Street brand. Not that we're not excited, but it's that extra shot in the arm. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned when you were talking about like teens and what teens wear and stuff like that, what is it that you do personally to stay like current on trend? Like or your team, like, do you have other people that follow the trends and stuff like that? Historically, I think Color Street has been ahead of the trend. And so that's why, for me, it feels like that's why some of our retired polishes become really hot, because we were just far enough ahead of middle-class Americans that, and as far as trend goes, like the trend hadn't hit Target yet. Okay. When we were retiring the polish, but what are you doing to stay current on trends, or your team?
Yeah, I think it's a great one. And it's something that, we are going to take a different position on in terms of making sure that we always are trend driven and at the forefront. And it's funny because when you do some of that work, like you're saying, Hannah, like the rest of the world hasn't commercialized or caught up yet. It's only in certain areas, demographics, certain channels like TikTok. But we do have a full team. And I tell you, it's always hot in terms of what is happening in the world of nails. So from our nail designers who are constantly coming up with research and looking at reports and analytics and future predictions, and they're constantly looking at that, to our social team who constantly do like a flash report internally that help us understand, what is Hailey Bieber wearing today? What is she going to plan on wearing tomorrow? Can we get more insight and intelligence? And so we are always triangulating kind of what is coming out. And I tell you, I am not a trend driven person. They come to me and I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea, because it is really hard to stay on top of everything going on. You guys can probably agree the noise is so massive out there to say, and I'm lucky I have an incredible team and we all kind of own our own parts. I personally pay a lot of attention to Google Trends. I learned in school how to use that tool, and it's really easy. If you guys, it's free to everyone. You can actually go on to Google trends.google.com. you guys can actually always research and see, even in your very localized area, you can even search different terms to see what is rising to the top in terms of conversation. It's what I use a lot personally, just to see and validate certain thinking and certain trends, and see, like, you sometimes in your queries rising questions that come out from the groundswell, you find innovation in there, to be honest. So we are for sure constantly looking at trend reports, looking at the runway, looking at celebrities, looking at traditional polished brands. We're looking at Dashing Diva, even though they have nothing to compare to us, but we do pay attention to them constantly. We are looking left, down, round, center. And I think you're going to be seeing a lot of changes come through in 23 of us being more thoughtful about the stories of these trends also, so that you're not just selling a plaid check. You know, you understand that plaid check was inspired by the tablecloth of, you know, Cipriani in 1925 and blah, 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 blah. And you'll have more of the story to then sell that in. So that's for me, the gap of like, yes, we did a glazed over look, and that was to respond to the glazed donut look. We could connect those stories tighter for you guys, so that you know that these are trends that are being featured today.
I love that. Thank you. And when you were talking about nail polish brands, it made me think of another question that came up that I'm not sure if I got this one sent over to you or not. But back when I was in the salon days, one of the most popular brands in nail polish was a polish that shared your first name. The nail polish was Orly. So do you have any credit to that? That was a question that came in on our forum. I said, this is probably a really crazy coincidence, but it's going to be fun to ask anyway.
It's a crazy coincidence, you guys. Crazy coincidence. My name is an Israeli name. So Orly in Hebrew means my light. So Or is light, Lee is to me. And, you know, I think my parents might regret that name. I'm not sure, because they make fun of, they're like, yeah, that's because we had to leave the light on whenever you'd go out as a teenager. That's the name of that, you know. They're like, really, thank you, Orly. But my name is completely different from the French brand Orly. And there is an area, there's an airport in France, so I get that a lot. People are like, oh, were you named after the airport? You know, there's Charles de Gaulle and then there's Orly Airport. There's also a little region in France called Orly, and it's I swear to you, I would never imagine that I would end up in a nail company, nail brand, and it's fortuitous, and it kind of just all happened. And when we do competitive reviews and I see my name on the screen, it's a little funny and awkward sometimes, but it's just a weird coincidence.
That's fun. And I do what you talked about. I subscribe to like different Google alerts, you know, so like I follow nail polish industry, nail trends, you know, different terms like that, so that I can see them. And I don't see Orly as big as what I used to see Orly, but I still see that name pop up there sometimes.
Yeah, it used to be bigger in the 80s. It had its heyday in the 80s. And then, you know, SC and OPI kind of took over.
Yeah. Oh, kind of fun. But anyways, it's a neat and fun coincidence. Okay, so just a couple more questions, and then if there's any time left, we'll let anybody who's on this call and able to be here live to ask you something. But when you first joined Color Street, what surprised you most, and what excited you most?
I think I was surprised by how successful the company was with very little structure. That for me was probably the biggest structure from a business point of view, tons of structure in the manufacturing plant. And I think as I learned about that, it's a testament, I think, to the community that you guys have built in the stylist world, to be honest. So surprised initially, because coming from like a corporate view, like into a corporate land here at home office, I'm like, how did we do this? How was this built? I'm not clear. But then as I learned, and I think that has been the biggest surprise and gift, is learning about the direct sales company and industry and how it works, and the beauty of social selling and selling within your network of people, and how amazing that is. So I think that was the biggest, like, whoa, okay, got it. And then I think the biggest opportunity, I think, is what you guys have seen, and just how do people not know more about this? That's the biggest thing. Like, how is that possible? And then, you know, what has been really interesting, because when I resigned at Estee Lauder, you know, fancy name, fancy company, blah, 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 blah. I was a little bit nervous and kind of like, what am I going to say? I'm going to Color Street. Like, no one knows this brand. Like, it's going to be awkward. And then once I started you know, telling people I was leaving, you guys, I kid you not, at least 5 or 6 people told me about the fact that they knew about Color Street, and they knew somebody who was a stylist. And I thought that was so cool. And it was like a gift to me to be like, okay, like there's something there, but clearly we have some work to do to let people know about the brand and then the product and the company. And I also think about the opportunity. I think a huge piece is, you know, we have the opportunity to sell the community more. I mean, I think that's what is special about this place. I would love to learn more. I am every day trying to learn more about what you guys do day in, day out, and the special connections. I see it, I hear it. I want to be part of it. I think it's so cool. I am part of it, but from a different place, you know. And I say to myself all the time, like, man, like, where was I in 2020 when I should have signed up to be a stylist? Like, clearly I missed a moment in time that some of you guys caught on. And, you know, or, you know, even a year ago when I was looking for a job, I'm like, why didn't I even think about this? You know, because I do see the opportunity and how much it can help you in your life and drive so much, you know, not just from a monetary perspective, which there is that real factor, but also the community and friends and network that you build within each other that is really special.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So this question is for me, because one of my personal missions is to break the negative stigma that is attached to direct sales. You know, where maybe your pride level would have been different in accepting your position with Color Street if it wasn't direct sales, if it wasn't one of them. And the reason I want to change that negative stigma by transforming the status quo is because it is such an incredible solution that has transformed so many lives. But there are these background stories of previous companies past, you know, I think that scare people. Do you have anything is there anything from the marketing standpoint that we could do to transform that vision so that Color Street is the place to be, the place that you're proud to say, this is my career, where it's not my little side gig, it's not my little side hustle. I feel like when we shift that pride, we're going to have a really big shift in movement.
Yeah, I love that. And I fully agree. Like, part of what we're trying to figure out, but also to not scare the community that has built this company, is what can we call ourselves? You know, I'm really hot on calling what we do social selling, but it's not affiliated marketing. So like, that's where I think a lot of people get scared. And so it's a really hard place right where we are today, just because I think for the first time in a long time, direct sales as an industry isn't doing as well. And I think that's because we have competition from Uber, Instacart, gigs that never existed before. Like, I have a friend who quit her job and she's a full-time dog walker now. And I'm like, say what? Like, when did that happen? You know? And it's more competitive, right? The direct selling space has now opened up and shifted to a world and an economy where you can really get a job doing anything today and make ends meet, and also not like have to do the work that you've done before maybe. And I think there's a lot of work to do behind that, Hannah. I don't know if it's going to happen overnight. I want to be sensitive. We are doing a lot of research as part of the branding project that we're doing right now. We did a lot of consumer research, and we have a question in there about the stigma of direct selling. And does that turn you on and off to Color Street? Because I think that's an interesting thing. But it's all to protect the direct sales space. I want to be super clear. A question that I hear a lot from the field and just in general, what I read online from the teams, is that we're moving away from direct sales, and we're absolutely not. I think what we're trying to do is figure out how to remove that stigma of direct sales. And that's what Mr. Park's vision is. So he and I talk a lot about how do you do that? And I think some of that is going to be tactics like talking to the larger beauty industry and positioning ourselves as a very different type of direct sales company that brings in innovation and product. And, you know, I really like the likes of like a Rodan and Fields. You don't think direct sales when you think of Rodan Fields. And how did they do that, right? How did they market themselves to be product first? And then by which they sell is through their strong community. So you know, I'm doing a lot of research and studying myself and homework, as well as the team, having a lot of conversations internally with Mr. Park. And it's something that isn't going to happen overnight, but I hope to have something in the next couple of months, because that is something that we have to do in order to recruit and enroll new people into the business. We want to remove that stigma and make it okay for you to say, yes, let me try this, you know?
So do you feel like any part of that might come back to mindset training, to where we have pride and joy and, you know, stating what we do? I know one of the things that is, you know, what you focus on grows, right? And sometimes people say parties are dead, nobody wants to party, and that person's not going to have parties. But the next person who said, oh my God, everybody wants to party, parties are never going to be dead, that person's partying like crazy. So sometimes I feel like the solution might even be here, you know, and centering could working on our mindset. Obviously, I feel like the answer is a simple yes. Help the community, which takes us to like our final question that was pre-submitted is, what is your biggest ask of the stylist? Would that help you, or what is going to help you most from us, knowing that your vision and mission is in alignment with ours?
Like, thank you for asking that. I think that's a really lovely question. I mean, you guys do so much. It's like, what else can we ask you to do day in, day out? But I would say my biggest ask is have faith, really, on where we're going, and have belief. I think that has been missing for a few months in the company, in some levels, in certain parts. I know there have been a lot of, you guys have experienced so much change, especially in the past year, separate from me even joining the company. Whether that's in the comp plan, I know there's just been tremendous amount of things going on. There's been collections, this, that, a lot of things happening. And I ask for patience, not a lot of it, because you'll see a lot of that change come in the beginning of the year, but just please have faith and belief that there's a lot of great work coming for 23. Things that I literally got out of a meeting right before coming here and I got chills, and like super cool things that you're going to see. And we're getting ahead of the planning and ahead of the calendar so that go to market is better. You guys get the assets, you get things on time, you get, you know, it's not jumbled messes and communication on multiple programs. It's going to get better. It's going to get tighter. So I ask that you guys just hang on and stick with us, because I really want to be with you guys, and I want to see this brand, this company to the next level, to the moon. And I know we'll get there. Okay.
Oh, Orly, thank you. I can't think of a better way to end this call, because you really helped us to have that faith today. And I want to tell you how much I've enjoyed this hour. I know everybody has enjoyed this hour, and learning about you and learning about your vision for Color Street and where we're going. So just thank you again so much.
Oh my God.
First saying yes to Color Street, and then also saying yes to being here today and sharing a little bit of your personal life and a lot of your professional life. And we're excited to have you as a part of our Color Street team and driving this marketing bus. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you, Hannah. Again, you've been amazing at getting me ready for this. And I'm so happy you guys keep selling 700 to the moon. I want to see 1400 club next year. Like I will do something special for a 1400 club, TBD, but no, I'm kidding. But like, really, I love that you guys do this. I'm so happy. And I really wish you guys all a very happy, healthy holiday season. Spend the time with your families, recover, renew, and just wait, because January, we got a lot in store. So I'm excited. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Orly. And to everybody else who's on here, January 10th, I believe, is the next day to mark your calendar for, and we'll hear from you then too, right?
Oh yeah. And that's where I'll be able to actually share some more real things, so that you guys can have your eyes and ears on what's to come. But based on what I was hearing from the questions, I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. Be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.